高端访谈专访格鲁吉亚议长帕普阿什维利，首次访华并到访北京、陕西。他表示
，For many countries worldwide, China is an example of transformation and development of country. Be it political development, be it economic development, be it development of the society.
赞赏中国在国际舞台发挥的独特作用。他说
，China's peace policy, let's call it so, is something which I think will be respected more and more from different players globally.
高端访谈，敬请收看。
关注国际焦点，洞察世界风云。大家好，欢迎来到本期的高端访谈，我是邹韵。今天我们要对话的嘉宾是格鲁吉亚议长沙尔瓦帕普阿什维利。2026年6月9号，中国与格鲁吉亚迎来建交34周年。就在这一天，两国关系提升为全面战略伙伴关系。帕普阿什维利议长对中格两国关系的发展有怎样的评价？首次访华并到访北京、陕西，中国的现代化进程给他留下了怎样的印象？与全国人大深入交流合作，他又如何看待中国的法治建设成就呢？今天我们一起在对话中寻找答案。
自1992年中国同格鲁吉亚建交以来，两国始终秉持互尊互信、合作共赢原则，推动双边关系健康稳定发展，各领域合作取得丰硕成果。2023年，中格两国建立战略伙伴关系后，双方政治互信愈加牢固，务实合作加速推进。2026年6月9日，习近平主席同格鲁吉亚总统互致贺电，并共同宣布将双边关系提升为全面战略伙伴关系，为两国传统友谊续写新篇章。
Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, greetings to you, and thank you for joining us on Leaders Talk.
First of all, thank you very much for having interest to have an interview with me.
As we know that this is not only your first official trip to China after assuming office as the Speaker of Georgian Parliament, actually is the very first China trip that you have ever embarked.
Indeed, it's my first official visit in China, and not only for me. Actually, it's first official visit of the Speaker of the Parliament of Georgia for the last 20 years. And it shows the importance we are putting in this visit and the importance both sides are actually putting in this visit.
Georgia was the first country in South Caucasus to elevate its bilateral relation with China to strategic partnership back in 2023. As the 35th anniversary of our bilateral diplomatic relations is approaching next year, so how do you assess the overall trajectory of our bilateral relations?
For our 35th anniversary of diplomatic relations, of course, we are looking in the future. Yeah, as we mentioned, we have a strategic partnership. We have a free trade agreement. We have visa-free regime. These are all achievements of the last few years. And Georgia, as to my knowledge, is still the only country in the region which has a free trade agreement, both with China and with the European Union. And it makes opens not only for Georgia the opportunity for the trade and economic exchange, but also for others, makes Georgia attractive.
Mr. Speaker, you have also stated that China has made significant, remarkable strides across all areas of life in the past decades. So which aspect of the country's development impressed you the most?
Generally, I think not only for us, but for many countries worldwide, China is an example of transformation and development of country, be it political development, be it economic development, be it development of the society. And in this regard, especially when the country is looking at the future, planning has a planning system which goes for years and knows the aims, what should be the final result of different steps. It shows that it's a systematic approach which China is following, and this is what actually enabled the huge steps in economic development of China.
And as you mentioned, this year marks the launch of China's new 5-year plan.
In this regard, China is a good example for us to follow, which, by the way, is also in Georgia the case, especially for in last 5-6 years. Georgia's economy developed very fast. And we have also long-term planning for this term of the parliament until 2028. We have set different aims for the economic development, for the employment rates, etc.
在2025年11月举办的第8届中国国际进口博览会上，格鲁吉亚首次作为主宾国参展，参展企业规模达到历史之最。同年，两国贸易额达27亿美元，创历史新高。2026年4月，双方在北京签署了中国格鲁吉亚自由贸易协定升级议定书。中格自贸协定是共建“一带一路”倡议提出后，中国启动并达成的首个自贸协定，也是中国与欧亚地区国家签署的首个自贸协定，为两国经贸合作注入强劲动力。
Georgia was actually among the first countries to respond positively and also join China's Belt and Road Initiative, this strategic location of your country, and also this economic resilience that has been shown in your country. So how do you think both countries can take the advantages of each other's competitive advantage to further strengthen cooperation in areas such as connectivity, trade, etc.?
Yes, indeed, Georgia is one of the huge supporters of the Belt and Road Initiative, and Georgia traditionally had a role of connecting Europe with Asia. We see nowadays that the historic role Georgia always had has also a role nowadays. Georgia and generally the South Caucasus offers fastest and cheapest way to connect Europe with Asia, to connect China with European Union. This is why we see ourselves as a part in supporting of this initiative. In this regard, most importantly for us is development of the logistic infrastructure, where we hope to have a more intensive exchange and cooperation with China, would be development of the logistical infrastructure in Georgia, which at the end will benefit all participants who will use the so-called middle corridor or Caspian corridor. So this is why it's a mutual beneficial to be part of this idea.
What kind of outcome do you hope to deliver since this is the day one of your trip?
I think both countries, China and Georgia, share many things which are regarding the peaceful development of the countries and peaceful policy in international politics. So these shared values, also the common interest in cooperation, is what led us to China. And the goal is also to enhance the partnership and the cooperation between two parliaments.
Well, Mr. Speaker, during your trip this time, you're also scheduled to visit Shanxi province. So what do you most look forward to experiencing in Shanxi province?
Yeah, it's interesting also for me to see the region, and especially from the historical point, and also that Xi'an is, as to my knowledge, the eastern starting point of Silk Road.
That's right.
So in this regard, for Georgians who are part of the Silk Road, it's of course interesting to see where it starts or where it ends, depending from which side you look at this. So therefore, I'm really looking forward to see how, of course, we'll have also the meeting with the government representatives there, but also to enjoy the culture there.
Like which aspect of the culture that you most look forward to experiencing and seeing there?
I mean, generally culture, but of course, being there and not seeing the terracotta, I mean, it's a must-see, of course. As I said, it's not only my first time officially being here, but also generally my first time, and of course, someone who loves history, history of different countries, and especially of the old civilizations like China. The terracotta warriors, to see it with your own eyes, it's experience which is unique.
在陕西期间，帕普阿什维利议长走进古都西安，在城墙前观看孟长安大唐迎宾胜礼，在秦始皇陵兵马俑驻足凝望列阵千年的陶俑，感受中国历史的厚重与悠远。他还对中国新能源汽车产业的发展表现出浓厚兴趣，走访了当地的电动汽车企业，饶有兴致地听取关于技术创新与生产流程的讲解。他表示，期待下次再来中国，去更多不同的地方。
Just now, you told me that the reason, or part of the reason, that this trip is very short, 3 days, is because maybe in the future, possibly, that you want to come here more often for some personal trip. Let's just say, if in the future you have this opportunity, which part of the country of China? Is there like specific city or like a place, a sightseeing place that you really want to visit in the future for your personal trip?
So fortunately, the relations between two countries enables us also to develop exchange between the people-to-people relations. It means that for the last already 2 years, I think, we have a visa-free regime, which enables the citizens of China or Georgia to travel without visa as a tourist. We have more and more direct flights. I think beginning of July, the new direct flight connecting Tbilisi in Shanghai will open. So maybe this will be the first point for first place to visit, using the direct flight connecting these two cities.
格鲁吉亚位于欧亚大陆腹地外高加索的中西部，西临黑海，北接俄罗斯，东南与阿塞拜疆相邻，南接亚美尼亚，西南与土耳其接壤。这里地形多样，气候宜人，农牧业与酿酒业发达，四季分明的自然环境使格鲁吉亚成为理想的旅游度假地和冬季滑雪地，吸引着越来越多的游客前来打卡。
I don't know whether you're aware that Georgia is also becoming an increasingly popular destination here in China among our Chinese tourists. And that was supported, of course, by mutual visa exemption, by direct flights, etc. So what are some of the distinctive charms that you would like to introduce and to recommend to our Chinese viewers, those who haven't been there but who are willing to visit someday in the future?
First of all, I think for both nations, the first issue is that we are both one of the oldest civilizations, China and Georgia. Georgia is not only cold, but just recently there were other studies which proved that Georgia is also a cradle of wheat, and this is the oldest cultivated wheat found in Georgia. So therefore, Georgia, we can call Georgia an oldest place of bread. So
you've got everything. You've got wine from Quarry, also no bread.
So I think this part, I mean, culinary part of Georgia, it's always interesting for visitors to see in Georgia, but also ancient buildings and traditions.
That's really amazing.
立法机构交往是国与国关系的重要组成部分，对于增进理解与互信、推动互利合作、巩固人民友谊具有重要作用。中国全国人大与格鲁吉亚议会多年来保持友好交流与合作，围绕立法、可持续发展、生态文明建设等议题，开展互学互鉴，为双方各领域务实合作提供了坚实支撑。
And as the Speaker of Georgian Parliament, how do you envision strengthening exchanges and cooperation with China's top legislature, which is the National People's Congress, the institution that invited you for this trip?
Yeah, so the parliaments generally, our aim is to form a legislative framework for the development of the country, for the international exchange, and of course in this regard to support our governments for economic and political cooperation. So we had the opportunity to talk about the exchange on those issues, which can be interesting for both sides. To give you one example is educational system. In Georgia, we are now in the process of reforming the higher education, but also the education on the school level. And Chinese experience is something we have an interest in. So we have a cooperation on the level of the ministries, but we also agreed today to have an exchange on the committees level, on the parliament, on the level of the parliamentarians, for the creation of the legislative framework for the education system.
China has made significant legislative efforts in the past years. So let me give you an example. In 2025 alone, 6 new laws are being enacted and 14 revisions are made, covering areas from public health to cybersecurity. So what is your impression and your understanding of China's efforts and also especially its legislative momentum for all those years?
Of course, the transformation of a country needs also legislative support, and this work we are witnessing is an important work which is done by the legislators here. I, as a legislator, of course, understand the special meaning, how the legislation is prepared, formed, made understandable for those who should use this legislation, government, citizens, businesses. And therefore, I also understand what kind of work stands behind every decision.
That's right.
And every legislative reform. So this is exactly what the parliamentary cooperation between different parliaments is there also, to learn from each other and to not only of content of the legislation, but also the legislation processes and procedures. So I think every right decision of the reform of different sectors or institutions should be prepared well by the legislators.
So which part of China's judicial reforms and also its legislative efforts and also progress that you feel most inspiring?
I think at the end, what counts is well-being of the people. It's economic development of the country. I personally, when I look at the legislation, the legislative developments, I look how the life of the people is made better through the legislation, how the economic well-being is developed. Therefore, this is how I'm trying always to look at the impact of the regulations on the society. And China, with the numbers and with the results we see, is a good example that if you assess the regulations and legislation, how these regulations at the end work and how they influence the life of the people.
Well, against this backdrop of international law being disrupted and also the global development is facing great challenges and uncertainties, China has raised 4 major initiatives, which Georgia has shown great support to. So how do you interpret the significance of those 4 major initiatives in upholding global security and promoting global prosperity?
Of course, we generally will support any initiative which is grounded and based on peaceful development of the world, and this is the dialogue, the international rules and law, that peaceful settlement of all disputes, and other principles which should be shared between the countries. That we are supporters of any kind of the initiatives which are on the basis of these principles. Look, Georgia is a small country, small I mean with the meaning the influence, possibility to influence the international developments. We are heavily dependent on international law, dependent that every country respects international law, that every country respects the basic principle that all disputes should be settled in a peaceful manner.
Mr. Speaker, during some occasions, you have publicly criticized some of the unfair accusations of China. And why do you believe it is important to have a balanced view towards China? And where does your understanding of the image of China come from?
For me and for us, for Georgia, it's important to see where are those powers who support peaceful development, who support international law and law. And I think China, with this, I would say, historically developed stance towards peace, towards international law, shows that the development of a country can be achieved also of a big country, can be achieved also without using force, threatening with force, or thinking that the only mean of the having being a global power is to somehow being seen as a big military power. China shows that with a peaceful policy, one can attract, one can show that the country is dedicated not only of development of itself, but development of the region around, development of the whole world, because we are part of the world, which if there is one problem or conflict on one side of the continent or one side of the globe, it at the end will reflect also on the other side. So therefore, China's peace policy, let's call it so, is something which I think will be respected more and more from different players globally.
The concept, the idea that you just mentioned is actually a key part of this vision proposed by President Xi. Is about a community of shared future for mankind. So it's not only the development, the rise of a single nation, it's actually it's about the well-being of all the human beings around the world.
Actually, you can see it internally in a country, but you can also see it in a cooperation of different countries that's united, and with a shared development, you can achieve more than when you are single and concentrated only on yourself.
And Georgia has also announced a plan to establish a new Academy of Diplomacy as early as next year. So what inspired this initiative?
Tomorrow I will visit the
Beijing Foreign Affairs University.
Yeah,
yes.
Foreign Affairs University, and we'll have an opportunity not only to discuss, let's say, international politics, but also to look how the university works, how how the faculties are working on different issues. And you're right, we just announced that there will be a diplomatic academy created. And in this regard, China, again, gives a good example how the diplomats are educated and how they are prepared for diplomatic works. And actually, diplomats are those who are the first line of defense of the national interests. So therefore, it's important also to invest in the education of the diplomats. So therefore, I think that the cooperation between the Foreign Affairs University and the academy, diplomatic academy, which will be established soon, will help us to learn a lot from the Chinese experience.
But what inspired your government to initiate this Academy of Diplomacy? It's going to be a brand new educational institution, right?
Yeah, as I mentioned, first of all, the need to specifically educate diplomats, to invest in that, to prepare them for the work outside of country, but also inside the country, and to concentrate on the high-level educational standards. So in this regard, as I mentioned, the experience in China would be of interest for us.
So, Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your very insightful views, and have a great trip here in China.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here, and it was a pleasure to be your guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
在专访当中，帕普阿什维利议长表示，他高度评价中国的发展成就。他认为中国在政治、经济、社会等各方面已经成为很多国家的榜样。他还说，格鲁吉亚正在借鉴中国经验，并期待在基础设施建设、教育立法、经贸合作等领域同中国深化务实合作。感谢您收看本期的高端访谈，我是邹韵，我们下期再会。